We are honored to be joined by Juan Cole, a professor at Michigan University and a distinguished scholar in Middle Eastern studies. Today we're going to be having an insightful conversation about the region's complex dynamics, and I want to wish you a very warm welcome here in Sarajevo.
Well, thank you so much, Nedžla.
Okay, so for starters, I want to talk a little bit about your book, Muhammad, a Prophet of Peace Amid the Clash of Empires. I want to know what was particularly inspiring aspect of Muhammad before your research and writing a book about him, and what knowledge did you possess before all of that?
Well, I'm a historian of the Middle East, and I did graduate work in early Islam. So I was trained in that field, and I was always interested in the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, and I became increasingly distressed by the rise of Islamophobia in the West and by extremism in the Middle East, which it seemed to me distorted the view of the Prophet.
How familiar is the world, especially the West, with the character of Muhammad, peace be upon him?
Well, I think in Europe and the United States, the biography of the Prophet Muhammad is very little known. And instead, they think of him as a warrior chief, not as so much as a prophet. And it's a very distorted view.
What role does Islam play in these conflicts in the Middle East? And what is the Western perception of it?
Yeah. Well, the Western perception of it is of course various, but there's an increasingly disturbing view that Muslims are somehow inherently violent, that Islam is a religion that sort of leads people to be violent. And it's a very dangerous point of view, and of course it results in a great deal of hatred of Muslims, of what we call Islamophobia.
Yeah. Professor, might the current situation in the Middle East mark perhaps a beginning of World War III?
Well, no, I don't think it's to that extent. It's a regional conflict, and I don't believe that we're on the verge of a greater war. But it certainly has the potential for expanding regionally, and that is very disturbing.
Can it in any way affect our region here in the Balkans? What do you think?
I think the main impact on the Balkans would be, again, that rise of Islamophobia. I think we just had a horrible incident in Chicago where a man killed a little boy and stabbed his mother, saying that Muslims are evil and they don't have a right to live, and so forth. And so there's that kind of phenomenon of the demonization of Muslims that comes out of something like what Hamas did.
Yeah, is there any way that Hamas and ISIS can be compared in a way that certain media outlets and politicians suggest?
Well, I think that they are very different movements, and Hamas is much more of an organic movement. It comes out of the Palestinian occupation. ISIS was a group of adventurers, basically. They didn't have strong grassroots. But what's disturbing is, in this most recent October 7th attack, Hamas did adopt some ISIL type of tactics. And they are stupid tactics. I mean, just as a matter of strategy, if you're a guerrilla movement, your only advantage is that you can strike and then withdraw and hide. But if people know where you are, then they can come and get you. So using these kinds of guerrilla tactics when you have a return address is not only, strategically incorrect, but it is stupid.
Yeah, we can all agree. Is there a single Middle Eastern country that could mediate or exert pressure to end this conflict?
I don't believe that there is any regional power that can end the conflict. I think behind the scenes, Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Turkey are all working to resolve things. But The United States is backing Israel to the hilt. It's sending aircraft carriers and even instructed the U.S. diplomats not to talk about de-escalation. As long as the U.S. is backing it, then I think, it's the superpower.
Yeah, so the U.S. is the one we rely on. They can end this conflict, this war.
I think if Mr. Biden asked the Israelis to stand down, that he could exert enormous pressure on them. But so far, that doesn't seem to be the position of Washington. I think people in the United States were shocked by what Hamas did, the images of attacking those civilians at the music festival and the rumors of atrocities. And I think there's a real sense of wanting to wipe Hamas out as an organization. And so the attitude is they should do whatever they need to do to dismantle Hamas, but they don't understand that you can't dismantle Hamas without harming large numbers of innocent non-combatants, which is a war crime.
When can we expect this to end? What do you think?
It's unclear. It seems to me that it could be weeks. First of all, if the Israelis do go into Gaza, they're going to find it hard going. It could be large numbers of Israeli casualties, Israeli military casualties. And it's a small place. How long would they need to accomplish their military objectives? It's a little unclear now exactly what they're planning to do, but they did clear North Gaza. It does seem like they intend to invade it. But that may not go smoothly for them.
From the current situation, is it possible to talk about the two-state solution between Israel and Palestine? Can we open that conversation again?
There hasn't been a possibility of a two-state solution for decades. I think the Oslo Accords of 1993 were the last time it was plausible. And the Israelis are mainly responsible for having derailed the Oslo peace process. And in particular, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has boasted about derailing the Oslo process. And they promised to withdraw from Palestinian lands in 1993. In the next 10 years, they doubled the number of Israeli settlers on Palestinian lands. So that's not a withdrawal. And then they didn't withdraw. So since, I would say about 2000, there's no possibility of a two-state solution.
What is the solution? Do you have any idea?
Well, there are three possibilities. One is that Israel and Palestine would become the same state. It would be a multi-ethnic state like Bosnia itself. Another possibility is continued apartheid. The Palestinians would remain stateless and without rights under Israeli sovereignty. That's not a long-term sustainable prospect, but it could happen for a long time. And the third possibility is that ethnic cleansing, that the Palestinians simply should be removed by the Israelis, transferred to Jordan and Egypt and so forth. And like 1948, another what is called a Nakba, or a catastrophe for the Palestinians.
Well, we are all hoping that the first case scenario is the one that will prevail. And thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Nedžla.